The Yoruba group set June 12th as referendum date. Several Yoruba groups under the aegis of Assembly of All Yoruba Groups Worldwide have set the 12th of June 2021 as a day of referendum for the Southwest region. The group disclosed this on Thursday after their meeting held in Ibadan, the Oyo State. The meeting was tagged the paramountcy of Yoruba unity in tackling the insecurity menace in Yoruba land. In a communique read on behalf of the groups by Otumba Deji Osigbohun, after the meeting, they said the push for Yoruba self-determination is non-negotiable. Noting various threats to security in Yoruba land, the meeting charged Yoruba people, especially the elites, to return to protect their land. The meeting was also tasked every House of Assembly in the Southwest to pass a resolution on the state of insecurity in Yoruba land. The group called on members representing Yoruba constituencies in the Senate and House of Representatives to move a motion on insecurity in Yoruba land within the next 90 days, precisely the 25th of June. They urge Yoruba groups to organize relief materials for Fulani-ravaged victims, while a Yoruba Central Coordinating Council was also proposed. In his remarks, popular historian Professor Banji Akintoye, who was represented by Tunde Amzat, stressed that the call for Yoruba self-determination should not be misconstrued as secession. Akintoye said the Yoruba nation will be achieved peacefully through the building of a consensus and mobilization of the people. Also speaking, Ambassador Yemi Farumbi stressed that Yoruba people should be ready to defend themselves against threats to their lives. He charged all Yoruba individuals and groups to bring to bear their intellect, assets, and knowledge for the cause of the Yoruba nation. In the same vein, renowned lawyer Femi Falana, who made a phone call during the event, harped on the need for restructuring of Yoruba land. He called on Yoruba people to take charge of their affairs and ensure the development of the Yoruba nation. To curb herders, farmers clashes, he urged the Yoruba nation to embrace ranching as it was in the times of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the first premier of the region. Groups present at the event included Yoruba Koya and Soludero. I mean, I guess that's really good. I mean, it's the proactiveness for me, because from when, there was news about what the currency was going to be like, I was like, oh, isn't this a bit too early? But you know what? The fact that they're proactive and they're already setting up these things, I guess, that's good. For that referendum, this is the country at the end of the day that we're in. I mean, maybe it's just my negative, mentality, obviously being born and bred as a Nigerian, that mentality sort of creeps in, and, that sort of hardship has to creep in. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a very tough process, to be honest. Someone here says, I won't lie, I'm no longer proud of the country Nigeria. Pray things change for the better. We're tired of praying. Praying has not done anything. So maybe it means that we have to put in our foot forward and actually take actions. Better for Oduduwa, at least our brothers and sisters from Ogun State, they ran to refugee to Benin. Will come back. Just read what your father said years back. So I'm guessing, so the man who saw tomorrow, provoked by the shabby treatment spewed on Chief Obafemi Awolowo by Fulani-led federal government during the Independence Day celebrations in 1960, Mr. Modiyu Adeniyi Osinowo, a 27-year-old headmaster, led a one-man campaign that Yoruba land should separate from Nigeria as Pakistan has separated from India. His words, let's have our own Pakistan. If they could rubbish our like this, sooner or later they'll be defecating on our foreheads, on our heads. Let's have our own sovereignty. Osinowo was assassinated 5 years later. Of course. Honestly, back in the day, the way assassinations were just rampant. Like, it was like right now, obviously with the age of social media, the way news spread fast, human rights, freedom of speech, now it's a bit different. Even though, not saying that, governments are not necessarily doing what they do, but at that time, like, my G, just say anything, you're gone the next day. And it to be so, like, not surprising. Someone says, are you talking about the social media referendum for actualizing the social media Oduduwa Republic? Wish you free hate audio referendum. At the end of the day, yes. I mean, I think, this person might come across negative, in which I also said before. June 12th, that is very, very specific. I mean, I don't necessarily know. I mean, I don't know what the climate is like amongst Yoruba people. Is it like a big thing? Because obviously Sunday Igboho is very influential. So obviously since he, brought this topic of, independence and self-determination to the limelight, I guess that Yoruba people might follow because that's what they might want, right? Because the majority will carry the vote, and at the end of the day, if it's a small majority of people that do not want that, well, they won't win at the end of the day, and it just is what it is. Another person here says Oduduwa Republic is unstoppable. One Nigeria is sinking. Buhari presidency nepotism disintegrated Nigeria. Right? Wherever I see people talk about Nigeria being disintegrated, I pity the billionaires from the east and west who have labored to put structures in the north worth trillions. How are you going to compensate them if you ask them to leave? That's not the point. Foreign businesses have, been in other countries and they're still billionaires. I think we just have to be grown up about these conversations. What are you saying? I mean, there are, I mean, it just depends on the country and what laws it puts in place for foreign trade and also laws it puts in place for its domestic industries. At the end of the day, I don't think that should be so. What's the idea that when we separate, again, it doesn't have to be a thing of malice and then we never communicate with each other again. It's more, I mean, with the north and the southern part of Nigeria, maybe, the history and all that, people are genuinely still holding grudges and all that. And I think it's a bit, I think if we actually separate, I think there's no point. It takes two to tango. So if the north decides we don't want to trade with any of you, that is fine. But for the two south, east and southwest, basically Oduduwa and Biafra, if that should happen, I think that, it would be easier for them to trade because technically, even though yes, betrayals on some parts, but it's not necessarily as, the relationship is not as, stressed or as broken as the one with the north. So yeah, I think it's a bit childish to believe that, okay, fine, because because we're different. I mean, I guess people still hold grudges and all that, but countries still trade, and I think it's a good thing because again, as we separate, it brings a whole bigger issue of trading amongst ourselves as Africans and the African Union. And I think, when that happens, and of course, trust Yoruba land, Igbo land as their individual self-determination, your countries, come on now, these people will be leading trade in Africa. I mean, not to be proud or be boastful or anything, they will actually be. So I think that, when we actually get in, obviously it's in the long term. So when we actually get into trading and all that, basically, it will bring a whole new conversation as to how, African Union would work, how we could be a single market, how we can have our own trade union and all that. So yeah, I think it's good at the end of the day. Yeah, but to set the 12th of June as a referendum date is very, very confident. Because plans, you have to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D in the country. So, I mean, I guess at this point, we should be able to plan a succession or a referendum fully, understanding the context and how, Nigeria works. So I guess I think every Nigerian is experienced and understanding that you need several plans. You don't have one plan and to go along. We don't have a structure. So that it is. Put what you think and do not forget to like and subscribe.